Hey friends, what's happening? What's shaking? What's going on? This is Andy coming to you again from here at Andy's World of Bass. Today I want to make a video for you, talk to you a little bit about my Bergantino bass rig and show you one of the important sounds that I go for and that I'm really easily able to harness with this rig. And that is the flatwound sound. And the instrument that I have right now has my Galli 45 to 105 flatwound strings on it. The flatwound 60s kind of smooth, round, warm tone is a great kind of somewhat deceiving sound, because on its own it doesn't sound you know, terribly you know, sexy or anything like that, but when it goes into a mix it has a very, very special kind of low fundamental tightness, and the high end is so well behaved that when it comes time to mix or to mix it into a live band sound, or especially in recordings, it just goes to tape wonderfully. So I love it, and it's one of the sounds that I utilize sometimes. You know, if a track it can just really change the whole vibe and the whole feel of a certain track, you know, in the studio. So I love flatwound strings. And I love using them on certain gigs too, you know, rootsy kind of Americana, some rhythm and blues, but R&B and country and bluegrass and things like that. It just really, really fits the music well. So what I love about the Forte HP here is that I'm able to get a really kind of even, flat kind of sound with the flatwound strings, meaning not much EQing, not much boosting or cutting or anything like that. All the EQ controls are pretty much straight up, although the bass control is slightly past 5. You know, it's like on let's say on 6. Instrument is in passive mode. But there's a couple of things that I do. One is to engage the punch switch, which is all the way over here on the left. When you engage it, the orange light comes on. That takes some of the ultra low stuff out, which cleans it up really nice, especially the louder you play. So when you're up at a performing volume, that punch control is crucial. I leave that in all the time. And then the other thing that I do is I utilize the drive function. And I engage it. Also, you have this little engage switch, and there's also a wireless foot switch that you can get with the amp. But I engage it, and then I leave it at 0, and it just introduces this nice character, this nice little bit of extra mid-range kind of cut. The slightest amount of kind of hair, I'll call it. despite having the drive function kicked in but set at 0. Love that tone. I hope that it's transferring into the camera mic in a nice way. Where I'm standing, it feels great. It's got a nice big round full kind of sound. It's not starving for anything. Everything is there, you know. You know, with flatwound strings, they're a little bit deceiving in another way, in that there's a lot more low end there than meets the ear. So you have to be careful with boosting the bass control. Much more than with round wound strings. The low end is much bigger and tighter with the tension associated with the flats. Now these particular strings by Galli that I love so much are the same gauges as my normal round wound set. They're 45 to 105. So I still have the ability to be flexible and expressive. Sometimes just the slightest wiggle of the string. I'm just putting a little bit, as opposed to. You know, those subtleties are what create the individuality of the player. Those little subtle ways that we play each note. You know, there's 1,001 different ways to play every single note, so you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's all that it's kind of taking from the concept of, like, you know, a cello or violin player. They're constantly bringing the tone out of the instrument by the way that they use left hand vibrato. Now, you don't have to go crazy with it, because if you do, that can create too much of a good thing. But just being very subtle. Sometimes these little nuances are overlooked in the in some of the teaching process. So I'll throw that out there. Maybe you can really focus in on what you're doing with your left hand, and finding ways to do things that are subtle, and really being able to recognize how far how far something very tasteful and subtle can go, like how much it can really change the mood of the music and the mood of the song just by adding that little bit of vibrato stuff. And the flats, there's something very special about the flats. Darkness, a little bit of a spookiness, sometimes murkiness, murkiness can be very cool and very moody, you know. I mean, it is a bass after all, so we want to create sonic things that happen down in the low register, that create musical mood down in the low frequencies. Well, when we load a bunch of high end and play a bunch of sizzly stuff with the bass guitar, it starts to sometimes be counterproductive to the music, because it starts to kind of interfere and get tangled up with the other instruments that are playing in the higher ranges. So anyway, there's just a few concepts or whatever that I use to approach playing when I'm playing with flatwound strings and when I'm playing in general. And going back to the amp here, I like that I'm able to just get that sound really quickly, instantly, dial it in. And you know, really the only difference is if I was switching between a bass with round wound strings on it and I picked up the flatwound instrument for a song or two, all I would really have to do is just kick in the drive function. Everything would pretty much be the same, you know, because I run the EQ pretty flat all the time. Here's what it sounds like without the drive engaged. Which is killer. I think it just sounds a little bit more modern. It sounds like a vintage bass being played through a modern amp, where when I kick that in, it sounds like a vintage bass being played through a vintage amp, to me. That little bit of hair and that little bit of ever so slight drive, and it's a very small amount, just makes it sound imperfect. And the fact that that imperfection and that little tiny bit of personality and character really makes a big difference when it goes into the track. That little bit extra, I guess it's probably like a little bit of a mid-range thing. Makes it sit in the mix perfectly and just feel a little bit more like a tube amp, I guess you could say. You know, I have the tone all the way down. I can actually get a pretty cool, you know, early 70s funk sound. You can get all kinds of stuff. Straight disco if you want to. It's all right there with the flat. So thanks for watching this video. Thanks for watching all the videos. By all means, I can't say enough good things about the Bergantino Forte HP head, and of course the cab, the HG holographic 412, which I adore. It's my favorite cab that of all the ones that I've had the opportunity to demo and test and take out on gigs. This one has certainly been my favorite, and but I think I have some more of the new ones coming, the brand new ones, so I look forward to testing those as well. Have a great weekend, have a great week ahead, and we'll see you next time. Peace.